Hello everyone and welcome back to another video on the channel, and today we're going to be talking about the first two episodes of the brand new Star Wars Disney Plus series, Skeleton Crew. These two episodes are directed by Jon Watts, who's the co-creator of the show, and David Lowery, who directs the second episode. And I was very excited about the show because it seemed like something very specific and new in the world of Star Wars, even if it is definitely more so geared towards children. When we get into the actual episode, I'll talk about that a little bit later on, but I was excited to get into this thing, and after watching those first two episodes, I thought it was a lot of fun in a non-derogatory sense. I know that word fun can be thrown around for a lot of things in a very negative connotation where it's like, oh, you're just saying that because it's fun, but you know, you're really not liking it, you don't want to say you don't like it. No, this is genuinely a really fun show. And of course, this will be a spoiler review for these first two episodes, so if you haven't had a chance to watch it, go check it out on Disney Plus, come back here, and let's get into the review. But actually, before I start the review, I just want to mention that I will be talking about a potential giveaway that I'll have at the ending of the series of my reviews for Skeleton Crew. So once the finale of Skeleton Crew happens, I'll do my final giveaway. To enter the giveaway, I'll talk about how you can do that at the end of this review. But without further ado, let's get into Skeleton Crew. And as we're kicking off this review, I have to say that there's not really anything about these first two episodes that I strongly disliked. I generally really enjoyed the tone and the clear inspirations that the creative team took for this series. For one, obviously this is Goonies in space, and so you're gonna have, you know, the little robot character in this series that has like the placement of the sloth character inside of Goonies. It's the kids going on a pirate adventure. It very much has that tone and feel to it. But I never really watched Goonies all the time as a kid, but what I did watch all the time was this movie called Flight of the Navigator. This is a movie that honestly never hear anybody really talking about this thing, but essentially what happens at the beginning of that movie is a kid, you know, he's running home from school and he stumbles into this pit where he, you know, eventually wakes up and goes back home only to see that he's, you know, traveled like 8 years into the future and he's missed a large portion of his life, and it has to do with, you know, a spaceship and traveling through time and going on this great adventure through time and space. And it's a really fun movie. But this show, when the kid, as soon as he stumbled into the little pit and he found the spaceship that the kids are gonna, you know, get themselves inside of in the first episode and go off on this adventure into space, it very much gave me Flight of the Navigator vibes, and I absolutely loved that. But from a modern standpoint, there's also a few moments in this series that gave me a very strong Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1 and 2 specifically vibes, and also Pirates of the Caribbean. There's a little bit of all of those things inside of this show, and that's all to say that, you know, the creative team behind this, they took these inspirations from different things from the 80s or from, you know, modern day pirate stories or, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy, you know, the space opera type adventures, and they all injected it into this world of Star Wars, and all those inspirations feel very genuine and authentic, because when you get into like 80s nostalgia in terms of different shows and movies, you get the very strong, like, you know, the soundtrack from the 80s, and you get the costumes and the hairstyles and all the different nostalgia that you get from the different media that they reference inside of, you know, shows that take place in our real world. But what does 80s nostalgia look like in the world of Star Wars? Well, it's not going to pull from real world things because this doesn't take place in our world. It takes from the tone of the things that we watched in the 80s, and I think that is a really great creative choice. But for a show like this to really work, you need to have good child performances at the core of this series, because yeah, there's honestly not a lot of adults in this show. You really get two main adults that we get to see throughout these first two episodes, but generally speaking, it's really all on the shoulders of these child actors, and that's honestly a really tough task, especially to ask in the world of Star Wars, because, you know, the whole Star Wars track record with child actors has not always been the greatest. But honestly, I really did enjoy the performances from our four leads inside of this series, because I think that the two things that you need specifically for a show like this to work is very distinct character, you know, dynamics and character traits, and also very distinct personalities. I think that they all pull that off. But even though this is an ensemble of kids, the main character seems to be this kid named Wim, who essentially has these aspirations to be more than what his society is essentially trying to get him to be, which essentially on this planet, you have to take this test when you're in, you know, a middle school age, and it's essentially going to give you what role you're going to have in society. If you know, pass this test in certain ways, it's going to say, okay, this is going to be your role in this world moving forward, and you can't really stray from that path. You have a set destiny, and you can't really break free from that, even though this kid wants to. You know, he has dreams of being a Jedi, even though that is such a far-fetched dream for some random kid inside of the Star Wars universe that has no ability to use the Force. He still wants to be something more than what his world is telling him to be. And that is a very Star Wars-like struggle. That's the struggle that Luke Skywalker had in the original Star Wars movie. This kid who looked out into the twin suns and saw a future that he couldn't even really dream of. He wanted to be more than what he was looking at himself, essentially. And that is what I see inside of this kid. And I think his family dynamic is easily the most interesting of all these kids that I think is going to have a large, you know, growth for this character, because he has a single father to raise him, and you don't really know exactly what happened to his mother. I'm sure we're going to uncover that mystery as the show goes on. But as somebody who's kind of afraid to go home at this point in life, he wants to go on this adventure. He's very reckless in doing these things. He's the one who gets the characters in the trouble that they're in inside of this series, making all these mistakes to, you know, press the glowing green button that he probably shouldn't be pressing, that sets off the events of this film. He's the character that's probably going to go through that journey and learn the things that he needs to learn by the ending of this series. And again, to reference Flight of the Navigator, that's kind of what happens in Flight of the Navigator. In that movie, the kid is very selfish. He's very, self-absorbed. He doesn't want his little brother to take all the attention. He wants all the attention to be on himself, and he kind of, shuns his brother. He shuns his family. He wants to be off on his own, and he gets that chance to do that. But on his journey, he realizes that, yeah, his family means a lot more to him than he could have ever dreamed of, and he kind of wants to go back to what he had lost before, because you never really, accept the things that you have until you lose them. And I think that is the journey that this kid is going to go on with his father specifically, and how I'm hoping the father has a bigger role in trying to find the kids inside of this series, and getting together with the parents and having a role to try to find these kids that are off on this adventure, maybe uncovering the mysteries of these planets along the way. I think that this character has a lot of potential and a lot of growth that he can have by the ending of this series, which makes me really excited for his growth. His best friend is Neel, who is this new alien character in the Star Wars universe, who I think they did confirm that it's not the same like elephant-like creature that was in Return of the Jedi. I think this is a different creature, but either way, this is a character, an alien friend of his, that is just adorable to watch on screen, because it is an alien child in the Star Wars universe. And obviously people love Grogu because of that, and I think people are going to love Neel because of the same very quality this character has. But he actually has a larger role in this of being the best friend. That's kind of he's not really the bumbling idiot type. He's the one who's kind of scared of everything. He's the one who's very cautious in going on these adventures, even though his best friend is the one who's looking out to the stars to want to do all these crazy things. And he's going to be the one who's jumping and screaming at every little thing along this journey, which makes him a really solid comedic relief to have. And he's never annoying too. I think a character like this could very easily be annoying, but this young actor is doing a good job at balancing those things. And then you have FERN, who's the adventurous cool girl of the group. She's honestly the one that Wim kind of aspires to be like in this series, because he sees her outside the window riding her speeder bike through the forest as a shortcut to school, and she clearly beats them there. And so he thinks that when he gets his speeder bike, when he misses the bus, he can cut through the forest, but he doesn't have the skills that she has. And so she's a character that is going to be seen by this robot on this pirate ship, and she's going to have the smarts to be able to say that I am the captain now of this ship. I'm going to lead us through this adventure. I'm going to be kind of the team leader, because she is much smarter than Wim is, and she's the one who is a lot more careful and not as reckless as this other character, and is the adventurous type that he aspires to be. So I think their dynamic is going to be really interesting throughout the show. And she also has a best friend named KB, who is essentially the woman in the chair of the group. She's the one who is very tech savvy. She has the little visor that she flicks down whenever she's going into her little mode to figure out any technological roadblock that you're going to have on this journey. So she's going to be the girl in the chair essentially for this show. And those are our four main characters. And like I said, they all have very distinct personalities and character traits. You have the main character, you have the best friend who's the comedic relief, you have the tech savvy girl in the chair, and then you have the cool adventurous girl who's going to be kind of the leader of the group. And these four characters, their dynamics is probably going to be the thing about this show that I really enjoy at the end of it, especially if they go on arcs that are really adventurous and fun. But besides our four kids, you have these other two characters that's going to be on this journey along with them, who is SB33, the droid, the pirate droid of this series, voiced by Nick Frost. And I really enjoyed his character in the second episode, because he has this gravelly nature to him, where he's kind of against the kids at first, and he's convinced that one of them is the captain now, and he's going to follow them unconditionally. He's going to get into a battle with all these pirates to protect them in a very PG sense. This show is TV PG versus TV PG-13, so you can't get too hardcore with the action sequences in this, but it does still work tonally inside of the show. And I think this character has fun bouncing off of these kids and being this kind of clueless robot that's just going to go with anything that is thrown his direction, and he's going to be a good guardian for these characters throughout the series. And then at the very end of the episode, you get to see the Jedi of the series, played by Jude Law. And this character, I'm not quite sure what role this character is going to play, because he is, set up to be the Jedi that is locked up inside of this little jail cell, and he uses the Force to get this key to be able to, free these kids from the brig that they are sent to at the end of the second episode. And I don't know if I quite trust this guy just yet, because I feel like maybe there's going to be a twist coming where maybe he is the antagonist of the show. Is he going to do some bad things when they get to the treasure planet that they're going to be trying to get to? What is his intentions in this show? I don't quite know just yet, because you do need a villain of the show, and they haven't really said who the villain is right now. It is just kind of the pirates who are also, chasing after these kids. Is it going to be that, one alien character that was in Mandalorian season 3? Is he the villain of the show, or is he just a character that kind of follows through to, build out the universe of, the Disney Star Wars era? I think that's more so what that character is going to be. be here, but I don't know if this character is going to be a good guy or a bad guy. I'm actually curious to see what his role is going to be. He was just in a quick little moment at the end of this episode, so we're going to see what Jude Law does in this series, but it's cool to see him as a Jedi in this. But besides the characters in this series, I was also really engaged by the mystery that these first 2 episodes set up with the planet of in which the characters have grown up in. And, this is essentially, the suburbs in Star Wars, essentially. You have these houses that are all in a line in this neighborhood. You have these kids going to a school on a school bus. You have all these things that you don't really expect to see in the world of Star Wars, even though, yeah, sure, these things would be in Star Wars. The characters need to go to school and have an education and learn what they need to do to, get jobs and do all the things that, is required for society. But to see it in Star Wars is, it raises some questions from a lot of fans after you watch that first trailer. But is it actually a part of this story? Why wasn't this place affected by the rise and fall of the Empire? Why are they still using these Old Republic credits when you should have moved on to the credits that happened after the rise of the Empire? And you have all these question marks that are raised when these kids go to this pirate cove and they're talking about how they need to get back to the planet of and how all these characters are saying that this is a lost planet with eternal treasure. Why do all these characters think that this place isn't real, and why does this robot not have it inside of its database? There's so many questions that is really intriguing to see inside of this world of Star Wars, inside of this new planet of and what the treasures are that is being held there. Because even on that planet, you don't look out to the stars. It looks like there's kind of this shield with all these red dots around this planet that's kind of protecting them inside of this bubble, essentially. Because once these characters do get on that ship and fly out into space, they're like, oh, what are these? Are these planets? But no, they're actually stars, and they don't really know what that is. And when they go into hyperspace, it's really scary and terrifying. It's the first time that they're seeing this. And so there's so many clues that you get to see in those first 2 episodes that hints at the reveal that, they're from this, lost treasure planet, essentially. And that's really cool. That's really great storytelling. I think that's really great on the writers and the showrunners to kind of, thread this little needle of, question marks that these characters are going to have. Even that comment of thinking that, the stars are planets, I was like, why would they question, how do they not know what stars are? But yeah, that makes total sense if they have, grown up on this planet that is being sheltered from the outside world, and what treasures lie inside of this mysterious planet. I'm very curious to figure that out. Well, those are going to be my general thoughts on these first 2 episodes of Skeleton Crew. But before I get into the giveaway, I want to talk about a new segment here at the end of all my Skeleton Crew reviews, which is essentially going to be called, What is the Internet going to Complain About This Time? If you have a better title for me, please let me know in the comment section down below. But when it comes to a Star Wars series in particular, there's always something that a certain section of the Star Wars fandom kind of hyper fixates on and says it's the dumbest thing ever, and complains about it, just not being good for whatever reason, even though it really does not matter in the grand scheme of the story. Because yes, a story can be make or break when it comes to the plot, the writing, the direction, the acting, but Star Wars fans will hyper focus on fire in space, even though there's always been fire in space. And so I'm going to try to predict that before the internet gets their hands and ruins this show for everybody else. And my prediction for this episode is it's going to be the kids pretend fighting with lightsabers. But to be clear, I do not think this is dumb at all. Honestly, I thought this was one of the most relatable things inside of this entire episode. And I think the funniest thing is, if this side of Star Wars fandom decides to hyperfixate on this moment of this episode and think that it's the one thing that is really dumb about this series, I guarantee that anybody complaining about that did that as a kid, because I know I did that as a kid and I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was so incredibly relatable, but it's such a thing that I feel like Star Wars fans can hyperfixate and think that it's dumb because they have already decided to hate this show before it even came out. And so if that is the case, I could also be very wrong. Maybe everybody loves that moment inside of this episode, but I can see Star Wars fans kind of revolting off of just that one very silly moment. But let's get into the giveaway really quick, and just a little backstory of why I'm doing this in the first place. Right before I hit record on this episode, I got a knock at the door, which was my Amazon delivery, which got me all my, Black Friday buys that I had for a bunch of Blu-rays on Amazon. And well, I'm going to give away the digital code for one of these because I already have a copy of this. So let's just get into this. I bought a Cloverfield 2 film package for Cloverfield and 10 Cloverfield Lane. Very excited about that. I also got Dunkirk on 4K, which is cool. I love that movie. Then I also got Loki Season 1. Loki Season 2 will be delivering in like a week or two. I'm very excited to have both of those now in my collection. And the one that I will be giving away, again, I'm not giving away the actual Blu-ray here. I'm giving away the digital copy because I already have the digital copy, is Spider-Man No Way Home. I bought the steelbook for it, and this steelbook was honestly very hard to get when this film was first released on physical media, and so I got the normal Blu-ray, but now I'm going to be replacing that with this one, and I already have the digital copy. And so I will be giving away the digital copy for Spider-Man No Way Home, which is actually relevant because Jon Watts, the director of the first episode here, was obviously the director of the 3 Spider-Man Tom Holland movies, and so I will be giving away that digital code. And I think the way I'm going to run this giveaway is comment down below. If you leave a comment, you'll be entered in for the giveaway, and at the end of this entire series of reviews, I'll pick one of the comments at random to be the winner of this contest. And so it won't just be this video, it'll be all, 8 weeks worth of Skeleton Crew reviews. So definitely let me know your thoughts on this series in the comment down below. But that's going to be it for me and my review for Skeleton Crew. Like I said, leave a comment down below, both to enter in for the contest, but also to just let me know what you thought of this series. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Either way, let me know in the comment section down below. And of course, if you did enjoy this review, make sure you guys leave a like and subscribe to the channel to see more reviews just like this one. Like I said, I'll have weekly reviews out for Skeleton Crew along with weekly reviews for movies that are releasing in theaters. I believe Y2K is later on this week, so I will have a video out for that as well. But that's going to be it for me. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you all in my next one.